Hello everyone! In this week's video, I'm trying something different with an original character. There is a challenge called the Opposite OC Challenge, and with that challenge you do things like the eye color is your least favorite color, and the skin color is the color of your least favorite food. However, whenever I heard the name of this challenge, I always thought it was you draw an OC of yours in an opposite way, and then I thought that could be a fun challenge. So today I'm going to take one of my OCs and redesign them into a kind of opposite version of themselves. Now I don't want to change their look completely to be opposite, like if they have long hair, give them short hair kind of thing. I want to draw them like their personality and demeanor is opposite. I thought an OC that would be the most fun to do this with would be Raelyn. It's actually been a pretty long time since I last drew Raelyn, so I thought it'd be good to start by drawing her in a basic pose so that I could refresh my memory. I also went through my art and found any old drawings of her that I could. I wanted a bunch of references to remember her different details. If you don't know Raelyn, she's an OC I made for an Instagram challenge where my followers voted for the characteristics and personality of the character. I tried my best to work within the parameters that were voted for. I think back then I had to make the character edgy, but also have animal characteristics. And I, for some reason, thought a sheep character with an edgy personality sounded funny, so I went with it. It can be a bit hard to tell that she's based off of a sheep because her design doesn't scream sheep, but also her horns aren't the typical sheep shape. And that's because she has a horn defect, they don't grow in properly. I have always considered changing her horns to be more sheep-like, but for some reason I can never bring myself to do so. For the drawings in this video, I'll be drawing Raelyn in what I call her fancy outfit. I actually never draw her in this outfit. I like to draw her in more grunge-styled kind of clothes. I think they suit her more. But I imagine this is the outfit she wears if her family wants her to look more presentable or something. This outfit consists of a leather crop jacket, high-waisted jeans. They used to be low-waisted, but I'm drawing them as high-waisted now. Boots, turtleneck, and a necklace. And I totally forgot that Raelyn has the tips of her ears pierced, so try to remember to include that detail, but I don't remember it for all the drawings. Now that I've refreshed my memory a little bit, I wanted to draw some sketches that show Raelyn's personality a bit. These are kind of quick and rough sketches. I didn't want to spend a ton of time refining them. For this first sketch, I wanted to show Raelyn in her more chill state. So I imagine this is how she acts when greeting a friend or sibling that she likes. It's kind of just a simple yo. For the most part, I imagine Raelyn is pretty chill, but she can be very fiery and does have a temper that gets the better of her sometimes. You know, I kind of want to go back and read the original description I gave for Raelyn. I haven't read it in years. It'd be fun to see how my original concept for her has changed over time. Maybe we'll do that later in the video. Oh, and for the sketches, I'm using the Right Borrow pen. You can download it from the Clip Studio Paint asset library. I tried out this brush one time because I saw another artist using it, and it has been my default sketching brush ever since. I just really like the texture of it. Like I said, these are going to be quick sketches. I'm not going to color them, so I filled in some spots like her jacket with hatching, instead of filling it with like a gray or black. For this next sketch, I wanted to show Raelyn's more intimidating side. I imagine maybe someone said something rude to her, and she's like, "Say that again, punk." So I'm going to draw her with kind of an intimidating or off-putting look. I kind of liked how this sketch was turning out, so I decided to add a bit of tone to it, and I'll do that in a little bit. I kind of wanted to refine it a little bit more, especially since I thought maybe this one would be a good one to use for the thumbnail of the video. So I was like, if I'm going to put this in the thumbnail, maybe I should refine it a little bit more. It's been quite a while since I last created a sketch spread, and I kind of forgot how much I like doing them. It's nice to just do some low-pressure sketches all together on one canvas. It's kind of like how I would fill a sketchbook spread, you know, if I drew in my sketchbook. I've been saying it for months now, but I really want to get back into a sketchbook habit of some kind, like maybe at least a page a week. I've been basically only drawing in it for YouTube videos. It's kind of funny because I thought having a notebook with thinner paper would help me because I wouldn't feel bad for doing derpy stuff in it. But at the same time, I kind of miss my mixed media sketchbooks because the paper's thicker and I can kind of use more mediums with it. I never really like when paper buckles and stuff, so I never want to use mediums in this book that'll make it buckle super bad. But yeah, I kind of want to finish this one so I can start a new one, but I don't want to start a new one until I finish this one. So yeah. Anyways, here's my little sketchy spread of Raelyn to help refresh my memory. Now let's try to draw her in an opposite way. I'm going to start by planning out how I want this design to differ from Raelyn's original design. Like I said, I don't want to change her appearance too much. I still want it to look like Raelyn. So the changes will mostly be with her demeanor and clothes. I wanted an outfit that had similar pieces to her original outfit. So like instead of a leather jacket, she's going to have a cardigan. She will still have a turtleneck, but it'll be more of a lightweight one. And she'll be wearing a skirt with nylons and ballet flats. Overall, her outfit gives off a very different feeling. It feels much less rebellious, I suppose. For the colors, Raelyn usually wears really dark colors, so for this one, I wanted to go very light. I still wanted to keep the teal in her design, but now it is more of a pastel teal. Her cardigan and nylons are white and her skirt is khaki, while her shirt and shoes have the teal. Also, since this is less rebellious Raelyn, she probably wouldn't dye her hair the deep red color that we usually see her with. She would instead have her natural hair color, which is black. Originally, Raelyn's hair was white and she dyed it red, but I decided to change her natural color to black. Mostly because I wanted to be able to say she's the black sheep of the family. Like with Raelyn's spread, I wanted to draw this version in some different ways to get to know her personality a bit. And I'm going to make these sketches kind of mirror the originals. So in the first spread, we saw how Raelyn usually greets people, and this would be how this version greets people. It's a more proper hello and she looks more cheery. It's kind of funny how much expression and body language can change how a character comes off. Like her design isn't very different, but she feels like a very different character. Although I did notice that I subconsciously made this version's features and overall shape language a bit more round and soft. I wasn't really trying to do this, it kind of just happened. Like the curls of her hair feel softer and her facial features feel less sharp. So I feel like this also helps make her look a little bit more friendly. Also, I did decide to add some colors to these sketches. Since this is a new color palette, I wanted to use it some to see how I felt about it. So once again, for the second sketch, you'll mirror the original. When this version of Raelyn has something rude said to her, I imagine she would be kind of taken aback a little bit and a little confused. So she would just kind of reply with an excuse me, and her facial expression is definitely much more pleasant. She just looks a little bit perplexed. Like, why would you say that to me? Also, it's a bit troublesome referring to this character as this version of Raelyn, so I think I'm going to call her something else. I thought maybe I could just call her Raelyn's name backwards, so that would be Nyleer. It actually doesn't sound too bad. Better than I anticipated. I wonder what Doris's name would be backwards. It would be Sirad? Sirad? That's not too bad, but it sounds kind of more like a boy's name. What about Chase? Chase would be Esak? Huh. Well, I have learned that if you want to get some unique sounding names, just spell common names backwards. I'll have to use that sometime. Anyways, so here is Raelyn's spread, and here is Nyleer's spread. And now that I have both refreshed my memory and decided on a design, I'll draw more finished pictures of them. I was going to only draw a picture of Nyleer, however, I then thought it might be fun to draw pictures of both characters that are very similar, but a bit different to reflect their different personalities. So I sketched out two different poses that are very similar. The one for Raelyn will have her hand kind of in her pocket, and she's making a pose with her other hand, whereas Nyleer's pose will have one arm behind her back, and the other is sort of in a greeting position. My hope is to reuse some stuff between the illustrations, like the face, hair, and some of the coloring. That way I don't just have to keep redoing things. I'm going to be honest, I had to rush to get the art done in time for this video. You see, my sister Reagan and I planned to do a video collab together. Reagan was going to draw a super rough sketch, and I had to try to interpret the sketch and hope it is similar to hers. Kind of like with this video we did a couple years ago. However, as Reagan was working on her sketch, her tablet decided to start acting weird, and basically it was super hard for her to get any drawing done on it. And because of that, I needed a new video idea, and I was behind schedule now. It's kind of funny because I had thought of this idea, but then I decided to not go with it because I wasn't sure about it. So then my sister offered to do a collab with me, but then it didn't work. So I just went back to this idea. I was like, I don't know what else to do, and I feel like I can get this one done in time maybe. But I definitely had to crunch a bit. So as you saw, I drew Raelyn's face and then I tweaked it to look more happy and pleasant for Nyleer. I was debating if I wanted to make Raelyn's face super angry and serious or more playful. I decided on a kind of confident smile. And now I'm doing the line art and we have switched over to the camera footage. As usual for my line art, I am using the AA ink brush. It is also on the Clip Studio Paint asset library, so you can download it from there. I mentioned earlier that I wanted to go back and read Raelyn's old character description. So how about we take a look at that? I had to go back to the old video to find it. Name, Raelyn Mullins. Oh my word, I forgot that's her last name. Age, 16. She's actually 17 or 18 now. She's a senior in high school. Like spicy food, the color burgundy, painting, and music. That all still sounds pretty accurate, but I would say she kind of likes the color teal a little bit more. She kind of just picked the reddish burgundy color for her hair to annoy her parents. Dislikes being told she is cute, sweets, people that boss her around. I guess this is all still accurate, but I imagine that instead of not liking being told she's cute, she would look at you like you're a weirdo if you told her she was cute, because like she doesn't really give off those vibes. So she'd be like, why in the world do you think I'm cute? It's still very true that she hates being told what to do. She's the kind of person that if you tell her to do one thing, she'll do the exact opposite. She is trying to learn how to play the bass. No, she's not. She likes activities that are more active, so she goes to a martial arts class like once a week. Raelyn is spunky and says what she thinks. You could say she doesn't like to follow the herd. You get it? 'Cause like sheep. It's so cheesy. Raelyn is the second oldest of 4 kids. Raelyn and her older brother do not get along. Yeah, this is still very accurate. Her brother is very responsible and by the book. And he gets on to Raelyn a lot for like not doing her chores or her homework or like different things. He tends to boss her around, which she hates. Raelyn got tired of people treating her like a sheepish coward, so she decided to act tough and stand up for herself. Okay, so this line and the next one kind of bother me. Raelyn is known as the fearless black sheep. She is not known as that. No one calls her that. But is she as fearless as she seems? Okay, so the reason why I don't like the last paragraph is that it makes it seem like Raelyn is only acting tough because she was picked on, and this is now her defense mechanism, when really she has always been feisty since she was like a toddler. She never fit in the standard mold of acting like a sheep. I'll talk a bit more about Raelyn and her alternate version in a bit. For now, let's talk a little bit more about the art. Right now I'm onto the coloring. I only filled in Raelyn for now, but like I mentioned, I want to try to reuse coloring where I can to hopefully help save on time, and so I'm not just coloring basically the same thing twice. Right now I'm shading the hair, and I do want to say that I do keep the rendering more simple for these pieces. Like I said, I was on a time crunch, and plus the purpose of these pictures is just to show Raelyn and Nylir's design and how they differ in a more finished way. So I shaded the hair with simple cell shading and added in some highlights to help define the form of the curls a bit. Then I copied it over to Nylir's folder and used a correction layer to change the hair to black. Next was the horns. Since I was already in Nylir's folders, I just colored them for Nylir and then copied them to Raelyn. Also, I drew both characters in the same canvas. I just had all of Raelyn's layers in a folder and all of Nylir's layers in a folder, so I could switch back and forth by turning the folders off and on. Now is the eyes. For the eyes between the characters, I kept them basically the same, except for Raelyn, I added some of her hair color to the tops of her eyes, since I thought maybe some of the color would reflect into the eye. For Nylir, since her hair is black, I just used a lighter teal for the highlight. In a little bit, when I'm drawing the skin, I was able to kind of reuse it, but I did have to change it a good amount because they are making different expressions and different hand gestures. So I could only partially reuse the skin shading, but it was better than having to start from scratch and trying to make them match. That rhymed. So, back to talking about Raelyn and Nylir. Like I was saying, Raelyn doesn't fit the mold of acting like a sheep. She's not sheepish, she likes to do her own thing, she's not very soft or gentle, and this has made her relationship with her parents, especially her dad, not very good. Her dad is an important political figure where they live, and so he feels how Raelyn behaves reflects on him. So he's always trying to get Raelyn to act more like her older brother, proper, polite, studious, And maybe Raelyn wouldn't have a hatred for these things, but since everyone is always trying to force her into doing these things, she hates them because everyone is trying to control her and tell her what she should or shouldn't do, and she really dislikes that. Now, it may be kind of a surprise, but in the story idea I have for Raelyn, she's not the main character. Owen is. Owen is a wolf that acts more like a sheep. He's very timid, likes to blend in, and just wants to live a peaceful life. But because he is a wolf, everyone expects him to be tough and intimidating, and because he's not those things, he gets picked on a lot. He then ends up meeting Raelyn, and to Raelyn's dismay, they start to become friends. Well, Owen kind of pesters her until she agrees to be friends. So as you can imagine, Nylea's personality is probably the one that Raelyn's father wants her to have. She's very polite, kind, does what she's told, is always on time, gets straight A's, and is a model student. Instead of martial arts, I'm thinking maybe she does ballet or maybe plays the violin. And instead of liking spicy foods, she likes foods that aren't too spicy or too sweet. Now, it sounds like Nylea's world is all sunshine and rainbows, but I imagine she would have her own struggles as well. Like the pressure from school and her parents probably does get to her, and she has a hard time juggling everything at times. She's a bit of a perfectionist, and when things aren't going perfectly, that bothers her. So yeah, they both have their own struggles in their own way. You know, it would have been funny to draw an opposite version of Owen. He would kind of basically have Raelyn's personality, but I imagine maybe he'd be like even more mean. Because Raelyn's not like super mean to people, but if you're mean to her, she'll be mean to you kind of thing. I have a few different animal characters that live in the same universe as Raelyn. We have Owen, Lulu, Candace, and Sullivan. Now, the one thing I always question is if I would want Raelyn's world to have all kinds of different animals, or only sheeps and wolves. Because in the story that I have in my head, it makes things simpler if there are only sheep characters and wolf characters, and they are kind of the only ones needed for the story. But I do have Lulu and Candace, who are rabbits, and I do like them. So yeah, Candace and Sullivan could be in their own universe. Their story has nothing to really do with Owen and Raelyn. And Lulu isn't totally needed for Raelyn's story. She's just kind of a character I made and plopped into the story. So I could have it just be sheeps and wolves, but having more animals could make things interesting. I don't know, what do you think? I'll probably never write this story, so it doesn't truly matter. I just like making up stories, even if I don't fully flesh them out. But that is something I am thinking of. As the end of my webcomic comes closer and closer, I keep kind of thinking about what story I may want to do next. So far, my gut kind of says Pariah's story. I thought of some lore for Silva the other day, and it got me really hyped to write about it. But I think Pariah's story would be another long one, and I'm wondering if it'd be good to do a short story, and I think Raelyn's would be on the shorter side, or even Candace's and Sullivan's story. Theirs would also be shorter. I keep thinking about maybe doing a short project before jumping into another long one. Anyways, back to the art. For the finishing touches, I put splotchy teal lines in the background for Raelyn's picture, and some teal lace to Nylea's picture. I wanted them to be similar, but once again different to show their personalities. And I also added a subtle texture to make things feel more finished and less blank. And so here are the finished pictures. It was really interesting drawing very similar illustrations that showed a character in different ways. Like I said, it's interesting how much clothing, pose, and facial expression can really give a different feeling to a character. And it was a lot of fun to experiment with. And I actually really like Nylea. I think she's a cute character. But of course, I prefer the original. If you all like this video, I'd love to do some more of some of my other characters. It's kind of like I get to design a new character, but at the same time, it's just drawing one of my characters in a new way, so it makes things kind of interesting. Before we end, I want to thank my super awesome YouTube members and Patreon patrons, including the newest member, Rivers Grace. Thank you all so much for your support, it means so much to me. And thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you all next week in my next video. Bye!